What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey, still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. You don't like it, you can have that seat up. So as you guys have seen, after I uploaded my video, actually almost immediately after I uploaded my video, you saw a lot more sources come out of the woodworks and saying that they have also heard about a potential internal delay of the Nintendo Switch 2 to next year, around next March to be exact. And so, at the very least, for the purposes of this video, let's assume that that is fact. Let's assume that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be delayed until next year. Now, that doesn't really affect Nintendo much at all because Nintendo's first-party games, they can launch them whenever they want. Like, it doesn't depend on the timing. That's why you see Nintendo's able to sit on finished games and release them as they please because their sales and how good these games do aren't really dependent on time. But the same cannot be said for third parties. So that's why my question in this video is, I'm wondering how third parties feel about this delay. Because while I'm sure some of them were probably relieved by it because it's like, oh, cool, I get even more time to polish up my launch titles. I get another 3 to 6 months depending on when the Switch 2 was going to come out, which I think was around this September. So that's a good 6 months at least. So I'm sure a lot of third parties will appreciate that. But then there's probably some other ones that may not so much because a lot of third-party games are dependent on the release date. They're dependent on the timing. They're dependent on when the game drops. And I'm wondering if some third parties hearing this news, which apparently didn't go out until about early last week, are kind of miffed by that. Because, I mean, a lot of these third-party games are tied to the timing that they come out. Like, for example, you got even a game like Call of Duty. They announced that they will be bringing Call of Duty to Nintendo platforms for the next 10 years, day and date with the other versions. Well, if there was a Call of Duty game in development for Switch 2 to come out this year, it's automatically not going to come out this year anymore. So what are they supposed to do about that? If the contract says that they have to come out with a Call of Duty every year for a Nintendo console. If the game was in development only for the Switch 2, what are they going to do there? Are they going to scrounge up a older port of Call of Duty for the regular Nintendo Switch to fulfill that contractual agreement? Or is it because Nintendo changed their minds about the release date at the last minute? They're not contractually obligated to do that anymore. I mean, yeah. But then there's companies like EA that are super dependent on timing. Now, EA, unlike what happened with the Switch, is going to support the Switch 2 a lot more than they supported the original Switch. And they have a lot of games that are directly tied to timing, and how good their products do are based on the times and the release dates that they come out. For example, they're sports titles. So the next Madden should come out this year around August, like it always does. Now, if the Switch 2 came out in September, it was already going to have its port be late, but only by a couple weeks or a few weeks. Now, if a Madden title that was supposed to come out this year was being made for the Nintendo Switch 2, now it's not even going to come out until next March. So what you're asking people is to wait for Madden to come out on your system 6 months, 7 months later after everyone else. And it's a sports title. And you guys know how much sports fans care about up-to-date rosters and stuff like that. That's the reason why the sales of these sports games are so high when they first come out, and then they drop like a rock, and these games get super cheap after a few months. So pretty much by the time, if this is true, by the time say a hypothetical version of Madden comes out on Switch 2, the other versions are probably going to be like $15. And I'm sure that might kind of upset some third parties a bit. Like it's going to definitely eat into certain sales of Switch 2 third-party games if they're coming out that much later, because some people are simply not going to wait. There's going to be people that would have bought the Switch 2 version of these third-party games this year to go with their new system, but since the system is no longer coming out this year, apparently, they're not going to wait for the Switch 2 version. Or some of them might, but there would have been some people that would have just picked the Switch 2 version up over the PS5 version or the Xbox version just because that was their new system, or is that's where they preferred to play it. But if you're telling them they got to wait another 6 months, they might not wait, and the Switch 2 version might not get bought at all. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section about this. I don't know. I'm very interested to see what these third parties thought about this announcement, if true, because I'm sure that a lot of them were not too happy with it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section.